Ladies and gentlemen, to begin this evening's program, please welcome Suffolk University's own Hall of Fame Athletic Director, James Coach Nelson.
Thank you, Brian, and welcome to you all to our second Hall of Fame. What wonderful words. As I look out over our audience, I see so many folks that have very special meaning to me over 4 decades beyond. Our Hall of Fame inductees go back to the early 1950s, all the way up into the 2000s. I know unabashedly, for those of you who are first time here, that you're going to be blown away by this evening. It is like no other Hall of Fame that I have had the privilege to be at. Our staff worked so very diligently to provide meaning to this event. And just as the Boston Red Sox have an MVP, Dustin Pedroia, the NBA now has one with LeBron James, I would be remiss without starting out and speaking of an MVP here who is so responsible for much of this evening, if not all of it, Ellen Solomita. Your applause does her justice. Also assisting are individuals whom, when you see the videos of our inductees and our unique team, George Camo, Brian McDermott, Peggy Foley, the work that they put into this, they truly also are deserving of your round of applause. We do have several of our inaugural Hall of Fame members with us, and I would like them to stand and remain standing so that those of you who are here for the very first time, and I know that it will not be the last, will know who that they are. Maureen Brown was an outstanding women's basketball and softball player. Her 1,458 points and her impeccable play on the field make her one of Suffolk University's all-time great athletes. Maureen, would you stand? Thank you, Maureen. Very good. George Doucette. George, please stand. George has touched the lives of so many others. For those of you who were with us previously, how can we forget George when he came to the podium and said, "Suffolk University saved my life." And indeed that it did in many regards. But George, your life has touched so many others. You have saved lives as well. You have given life to so many others who are here in this room. George was a legendary coach, baseball coach for us. And George, as I was going through the archives, reading about Jack Resnick, it stunned me to know that in one basketball game, not the strongest of your sports, but you are an athlete, you scored 34 points in one game. A remarkable achievement as well. George Doucette. The term "scoring like Horan" applies only to hockey. Brian Horan, our all-time leading ice hockey scorer. Brian, would you stand, please? Brian's 302 total points still is the benchmark for not only here at Suffolk University, but just about all other colleges and universities throughout New England. I don't think Donovan Little has arrived yet. He should be here shortly. Donovan was in. Donovan, you arrived. Good man. How very nice. It always used to cause me great angst when Donovan would arrive late for a game. Just as it has done tonight, Donovan. But once Donovan arrived, he was the center of attention. Not so much self-imposed, but he was the center of attention because he is our all-time leading scorer with 2,013 total points. Welcome to you, Donovan. Ellen Crotty-Pistorino. Ellen, please stand. Ellen, with her 1,326 points, and she holds the women's record at Suffolk for the most points in a basketball game, 45 in one game. Now, Jack Resnick, I know that's only a half for you, as you folks will find out the meaning of this when we go to our videos. Ellen, in addition to her basketball playing, was an outstanding softball player. And Ellen, I'm thanking you for being here tonight with us. Bob Rossio, our tennis player, could not be with us tonight. His Simmons College women's team is in the NCAA tournament today, and they're playing up at Amherst College. Bob, certainly in the inaugural Hall of Fame, wowed our crowd so very well, just as our other inductees for this second Hall of Fame will do for you as well. Let me also, because she touched so many lives, mention the name of Mary Heffron. Mary, a longtime register at our university, had a fall at home. She's making great recovery now in a rehabilitation center. I had the opportunity to visit her on Monday evening. She's making great progress and sends her love and regards to all of you, just as I will reciprocate. We have a couple of student-athlete tables here this evening, and I want you folks to meet our future Hall of Famers, the current Suffolk student-athletes. From our women's soccer team, we have, and please stand and remain standing, Megan Benish, Nancy Roxo, Gina Dean, and Camille Audette. Thank you, ladies. Their presence here is a very special one because their coach, Ernst Cleofat, is one of our individual inductees this evening. Also at that particular table is our most recent 1,000-point scorer, Brian Small. Brian is also this year a co-recipient for my predecessor in a name that rings such a familiar tone to so many here, a first-time inductee, Charlie Law. Brian was the alumni Charles Law student-athlete with a 3.9 academic average. Pretty special. And let it be known that it was not the theory and practice of athletics course that I teach that kept him from having a perfect 4.0. Also with us is Jessica Ferrara. Jessica, would you stand as well? Jessica is also this year's co-recipient of the Alumni Charles Law Student Athlete Award. Jessica has been named for the third consecutive year to the Great Northeast Athletic Conference Player of the Year in softball. In Jessica's freshman year, the National Fast Pitch Coaches Association named her to their All-America team. And today, Jessica has again been named All-American. A wonderful tribute. Congratulations, Jess. At another of our student athletes, we have our 8 seniors of our varsity baseball team. Our varsity baseball team this year, and it's so appropriate that they are here this evening as we are going to be honoring our 1984 baseball team. This current team has a record of 30 victories and 9 defeats. They are 4th in New England, 26th in the nation, and next week they will go down to Willimantic, Connecticut to play in the NCAA National Tournament. Congratulations to you all. Please stand. Now, they think they did it alone, but let it be said that we have just a wonderful coaching staff who has provided a great leadership and guidance to them. Our coaching staff is here tonight. I'd like them to stand. Jeff Mejia, Anthony Del Preti, John O'Brien, Jay Parker, and the head coach who won his 400th career victory this year, Coach Carey McConnell. We do have 2 of our senior administrators with us this evening, and I'd like them to be recognized. Janice Griffith, Vice President, and Marguerite Dennis, Vice President. They could stand as well. And my Vice President, Nancy Stoll, the Vice President of Student Affairs. Nancy is a wonderful supporter of all programs here at the university, athletics being a program that comes under the heading of Student Affairs. Nancy has provided wonderful support in all areas. She's been a great mentor to so many of the students here. I'd like to bring her forward to bring her greetings, Vice President Nancy Stoll.
Thank you, Jim. I am so pleased to be able to add my welcome to Jim's tonight. You know, on behalf of the university, we are all thrilled to see so many of our former student athletes back with us, as well as many of our current student athletes. Suffolk hosts a variety of wonderful celebrations, but this one is particularly exciting because it represents a new tradition. A tradition launched in partnership with the Advancement Office and the Alumni Association just 2 years ago. We know that the Athletic Hall of Fame will serve for years to come as an appropriate recognition of achievement by our student athletes. As Jim has mentioned, Suffolk Athletics is organizationally part of the Student Affairs Division at the university. This is typical of most universities with Division II or Division III athletic programs. As such, the staff in athletics joins with other professionals in providing students with support and opportunities that add richness to their educational experience. These staff and coaches work hard to ensure that students find a community here, a bond, a home. By recognizing these wonderful former athletes tonight, we are reminded of the value of our athletic program in achieving that goal. Each year, at the end of the year athletic banquet, I make a point of saying to our student athletes that they are a source of incredible inspiration and pride. Being a student athlete at Suffolk is challenging. But the fact that so many students participate and are very successful is a testament to them as individuals and a statement about the quality of our program. Participating in athletics at Suffolk encourages dedication, hard work, persistence, creativity, and the experience provides friendships for a lifetime. Each time a student puts on a Suffolk uniform, he or she is an ambassador for all of us. We would be a much lesser university without our athletic program. I extend my warmest personal congratulations to those we are recognizing tonight, and my special appreciation for the leadership that Jim Nelson and his staff provide our athletic program. And now I invite you to enjoy your dinner. The induction ceremony will begin immediately after dinner. Thank you.
Law. Nelson. Brown. Rossio. Crotty. Doucette. Little. Horry. The 1990-91 ice hockey team. The 1974-75 men's basketball team. It is upon the shoulders of these great leaders that our tradition was built. Tonight, we honor our home team and the legendary members of the Blue and Gold. Join us as we celebrate the accomplishments of a new class of inductees and enshrine these men and women in our Athletic Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our Master of Ceremonies, Paul Vaccaro.
Thank you. As one who grew up with Suffolk sports at a very young age and having a father who taught for 30 years at the school, and then later being able to live out a childhood dream and play for this university, I once again stand before you both honored and humbled to have the opportunity to share the podium this evening with some of the sports legends in our storied history. As we begin this portion of the evening, I would like to first thank and acknowledge our initial speakers this evening, Jim Nelson and Nancy Stoll. Coach Nelson for being our visionary leader for the past 40-plus years, and Vice President Stoll, who for over 2 decades has been one of the leading advocates for Suffolk athletics within the school's administration. Together, they're ensuring that today's student athletes continue to have a positive and enriching college experience, and certainly without their leadership efforts, we never have the chance to enjoy special nights like these. And a night like this happened 2 years ago, almost to this very day, where over 300 people gathered in the same room for our inaugural Hall of Fame induction. And at that time, we referred to it as our athletics program's defining moment. And what a moment for those in attendance remember it to be. But do it once, it becomes an event, a moment. Do it more than once, and it becomes a tradition. And ladies and gentlemen, as Vice President Stoll had previously alluded to, that is our theme for this evening, tradition. We are here to celebrate the longtime tradition of Suffolk athletics, and we are here to continue the tradition of how we honor our all-time greats who helped get us there. In the process, we are blessed with the opportunity to use this evening as a means, no, as a tradition, to renew acquaintances, reestablish friendships, and reminisce about the glory days with former teammates and classmates who helped make our college experience so rich and so special. From little-known commuter school atop Beacon Hill in the 1940s to being one of the most revered and respected Division III sports programs in all of New England today. That's what all of us in this room should take great pride in knowing that we helped build. And tonight we take great pride in honoring a small number of the many architects in that process. 6 incredible athletes, an inspiring coach, and 1 remarkable team. I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy. These are their stories. This is Suffolk's story.
It was one of those nights when Jack Resnick, as they say in the sporting world, was in his zone. On that memorable evening in 1953, Resnick, a 5'9" guard, scored an incredible 75 points in Suffolk University's 107-71 victory against Burdett College at the West End House. It was the most points scored by a Suffolk player in the 63-year history of the men's basketball program. Resnick reached his 75-point performance by connecting on 31 field goals and 13 free throws. He also pulled down 32 rebounds. In his next game, Resnick, despite being the center of media attention and double and triple teamed, continued his hot shooting streak, scoring 56 points, missing just one shot against Merrimack College. Resnick averaged more than 21 points per game for the Rams throughout his 4-year career. His phenomenal scoring ability thrilled audiences both home and away. He was Suffolk's version of basketball legend Pistol Pete Maravich, without the floppy hair and droopy socks. His legacy of scoring 75 points in one game will remain forever. And ironically, getting inducted into the Suffolk University Athletic Hall of Fame couldn't happen at a more appropriate time. Jack Resnick is 75 years young. The Suffolk University Athletic Hall of Fame is proud to welcome Jack Resnick.
I'm going to introduce you first. Larry Bird never did it at Indiana State. Michael Jordan never did it at North Carolina. Lou Alcindor or Bill Walton never did it at UCLA. Scored 75 points in an NCAA game, that is. Jack Resnick did, and he did it while playing for our university. And what's even more amazing is that he did it in a non-shot clock, non-three-point era. Play that same game against Burdett College under today's rules, and I arguably could be standing here talking to you about a Wilt Chamberlain-like 100-point performance by this individual. But while that special night 56 years ago may have been his defining moment in a Suffolk uniform, make no mistake about it, Jack Resnick was anything but a one-game wonder. He was a 1,000-point scorer, the first 1,000-point scorer in this school's history, a supremely talented standout player, and an essential figure of any defense he played against in every single game of his college career. Moreover, he was the unique type of player who attracted others to Suffolk just for the opportunity to play alongside him back in his day. Yes, history will show that he played in the 1950s, but let the record also show that this great would have started on any Suffolk basketball team in any year, in any era, past, present, or future. He is the newest member of our Hall of Fame. Please welcome Jack Resnick. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this wonderful honor. I'm really touched by this. And I'd like to thank all the teammates that I played with, because without them I wouldn't be here. And tonight is a very, very special night for me, because I've got some wonderful friends here, and believe me, that's very heartwarming to me. And also, I want to thank my family, my beautiful daughter Donna and her boyfriend Billy, my handsome grandson Greg, who's in cancer research, and my lovely granddaughter, Deanna, who's a 5 sports star. She's terrific, from the haunted Swampscott. Thank everybody here. Thank you.
Jack, while we still have you on stage, Coach Nelson would also like to present you with a plaque with the original box score of your monumental 75-point game.
Got this out of the archive. Congratulations, Jess.
Fred Knox will always be remembered as one of the greatest pitchers in the history of Suffolk University baseball. He was a master on the mound, a crafty and intelligent figure who would challenge opposing hitters with a combination of power, speed, and control. The man with the golden right arm incorporated a high kick into his delivery, reminiscent of the former Major League Baseball Hall of Fame and San Francisco Giant pitcher Juan Marichal. This intimidating motion, where the glove and ball is hidden to the last possible second, left batters up and down the lineup on their heels. In 1960, Knox, working as a relief pitcher, secured Suffolk's stunning 8-7 victory over Division I Boston College, shortly before the Eagles played in the College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska. It was a signature win for the Rams, and Knox played a key role, getting the final BC player to fly out with 2 men on in the bottom of the 9th inning. Knox was someone who head baseball coach George Doucette could count on to start a game or enter the game from the bullpen on short notice. His best pitch was a slider, taught to him by Doucette. It was a new pitch at the time and drove hitters to swing wildly. Suffolk enjoyed success with Knox on the mound, posting winning seasons in each of his 4 years with the Rams. A fierce competitor, Knox led by example. He was a good leader as captain of the team in his senior year, helping Suffolk to a 13-3 record. Nicknamed Iron Man for his back-to-back pitching performances, Knox won 116 games in his semi-pro career, playing for the Hosmer Chiefs of the Inner City League in Greater Boston. He once pitched 4 games in 5 days during a playoff series. The Suffolk University Athletic Hall of Fame is proud to welcome Fred Knox.
Under 10 wins a year, less than 15 appearances in a season. By today's standards, these are nice but certainly not awe-inspiring statistics for any college pitcher. But what if I were to tell you that that same pitcher averaged 20-plus wins and over 30 appearances a year in their collegiate career? Now, those superhuman figures would turn the heads of any All-American voter and rank among the all-time greats at any university. Yet that's exactly the equivalent of what Fred Knox accomplished back in the early 1960s in pitching for Suffolk University. They didn't play 35 to 40 games in their day. They played about 15. And Fred Knox was on the mound in most of them. If there was a win to be had or a game to be saved, rest assured he was very likely to be part of that equation. He had the makeup, he had the moxie, he had the swagger. Put them all together and you had the ace of your staff, any staff. Indeed, baseball is a great game for debates and what-if scenarios. And what if Suffolk needed that one big game for all the marbles? Who would you want on the mound? With over 6 decades of hurlers to choose from, tonight we as fantasy managers answer that question. And the answer is clear. It is this next man who gets the ball. Please welcome as the newest member of the Suffolk University Athletic Hall of Fame, Fred Knox.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's very kind. I just thought before I started, I'd mention my family's at this table in front, and my sister from New Jersey, Peggy, she said, "Is that you up there, and that, with that leg out high?" I said, yeah, that's me. She said, why do you have it that high? And I said, well, if I didn't, I really would have got pounded. So, that was part of it. But I am extremely honored and deeply humbled to be put into the Suffolk Hall of Fame. It is quite an honor. And to join teams and coaches and players and athletes of all kinds and athletic directors, that's a special honor. I don't know whether I was that good or not to join the select group that is here in this Hall of Fame, but I appreciate it very much. I would like to thank Jimmy Nelson and the board that voted to put me into the Hall of Fame. That's a special thing for me. I look around and I see so many friends, my family, and athletes that played for Suffolk, and athletes that played with me. And it's been 50 years. So we change over those years, and it's good to renew those acquaintances again. And when I look out and I see Ernie Artolino and Ellis Lane and Ralph Walker and Neil Walker and Beaver Walsh and Tommy Walsh and people that played with me, Billy Filginini, it's just flashback to tremendous memories that we had. So I appreciate that. There's a few people I would really especially like to thank that are here tonight, and just let them know that they're a big part of my life and a big part of my going to Suffolk. And Suffolk was my route for setting the course of what's the future going to be. And the first one is Ernie Artolino, who's here tonight. Ernie was an outstanding athlete, Medford High School. He's in the Hall of Fame in Medford. And Ernie came to Suffolk, and I started playing summer ball with Ernie with the Hosmer Chiefs. And I wasn't going to school, and Ernie said, Fred, would you like to go to Suffolk? And I said, I'd love to. So Ernie took the initiative, and I ended up over here at Suffolk, and it's really Ernie's doing. So I greatly appreciate that, Ernie. Another fellow that is here that I played with in 1960, no, maybe it was 59, I'm not sure. Ellis Lane was an outstanding athlete. I don't think he ever got thrown out in a game, and that's all the games that we played with the Hosmer Chiefs in the summer and all the games here at Suffolk. I don't remember him being thrown out. When he got on base, he could run like a deer. But Ellis is quite younger than I am. He's 5 years younger than myself. And as my junior, he taught me an awful lot about coaching when I got out of Suffolk. That I coached at Medford High School, and Ellis Lane came right along and helped me coach the baseball team, the freshman team, and gave me so many good pointers and advice that he's an outstanding coach. He's in the Massachusetts Coaches Hall of Fame, and he should be. I really think he could take any team of any sport, but give them the worst players, and he would be a winner. He knows his sports, and he knows the coaching. Gordy Lewis is here from Maine. They came down, Gordy and Donna, with Sonny and Paula. And, Gordy used to come out to the mound in the summer when I was fading and not doing too well, and he'd say, Fred, get your leg up a little higher. But I appreciate him coming down and doing that. And the third person is a great honor to be put into the Hall of Fame with the best coach I ever had, George Doucette. George played professional baseball. He was a great pitcher, a left-handed pitcher for Revere. Went and signed professional contract, and unfortunately hurt his arm and came to Suffolk, and that was a huge benefit for me because George spent hours with me teaching me the game of pitching. He showed me how to throw a slider. That took a long time, and that was a great pitch. And he knew all the little intricate details that you don't get from most coaches. And he had the spirit and the competitiveness that we just thrived on. And we all really bonded on that team to do a great job. So, George, thank you so much. And lastly, there is a fellow here tonight, not here tonight, that has passed on, that I grew up with, and Dick Sarasulo and Tommy Kerwin and Ralph Walker, we all really know him. Richie DiGiacomo, he was an outstanding player. He signed with the Red Sox, and it was in their farm system. And he lived next to the park that we all grew up on, and we played baseball, honestly, 6 or 7 days a week. If there were only 2 of us, he originated a game behind the backstop. If there were 4, then we got out in the field and played a game of line, they called it. You had to hit it on the left side of the line, 2 on 2. But he always could have a game, and we played and played and played, and I think, that's where we learned the game of baseball, right at the park opposite his home. Life threw a curveball at Richie DiGiacomo, an unfair curveball, and he was a gentle person and a great guy. So I like to mention Richie tonight. And lastly, I don't want to keep you, I know this should be moving along, but playing baseball at Suffolk was a little different. I talked to some of the kids there that are playing this year, and congratulations on your successful season. And I said, how many games you play? 39. I said, wow, that we played 15 or 16 if the weather was good. And that's wonderful. And they take a southern trip. That was unheard of 50 years ago. And I said, well, you must take a bus down there. He said, no, we fly down there. I said, oh, that's really nice. I said, and they're in a tournament this year, as Jimmy Nelson mentioned. And I just wanted to mention to you that 50 years ago, with Charlie Law and George Doucette, we would show up and we would pack the equipment in the trunk of one of the cars, and we'd all head usually to Worcester, where there were 5 or 6 teams we played, and then down to Hartford, Connecticut, or Bates or Bowdoin, or wherever we were going. And Charlie would give us a couple bucks for lunch, and if you were taking your car, which I had one, $3 for gas. And that's how we did that. But we played at Smithfield, which doesn't exist, I guess, today. And they said, no, we practice over in East Boston. We never had a home game while I was at Suffolk. So you had to hold the other team for 9 full innings. And there was never a walk-off home run or a walk-off hit because you were always the visiting team. So it's a little different today, and it's a good thing it is. I really envy you playing so many games and starting in March and going down the south to do that. But that's pretty neat. We love the game of baseball. I think George gave us that great love of the game. And we were fiercely competitive. And we just loved Suffolk. When we put that uniform on that said Suffolk, we were really proud of that. And still proud of Suffolk. It's fun to pick up the paper today and see the baseball team won wherever they were playing. So for all of those players that are out there tonight and all the players that played in the 50s and the 60s, I guess, this plaque that Jimmy has given me is really for all of us. I think we were the trailblazers for Suffolk baseball. Thank you, and God bless.
There are 1,000 reasons why Chris Siotis will always have a special place in the record books of Suffolk University's men's basketball. He is the only player in Suffolk history to score greater than 1,000 points and grab 1,000 rebounds. Ciotis, a 6'5" center, was known for his consistently hard-working and durable play at both ends of the court. A two-time Division III All-New England selection, he helped lead the Rams to 3 consecutive NCAA tournament appearances. It didn't take long for Ciotis to display his basketball skills at Suffolk. As a freshman, he averaged 22.2 points and 14.6 rebounds per game. He was also ranked the 8th best rebounder in the nation in Division III and broke the Rams record at the time for the most rebounds in a game with 28. Ciotis played alongside his brother Nick for 2 seasons at Suffolk. Nick, a versatile shooting guard, and Chris combined to form a highly productive tandem for the Rams. Chris and Nick played pro ball in Greece following their playing days at Suffolk. A graduate of Suffolk University and Suffolk University Law School, Ciotis is known more today for his work in legal courts than on basketball courts. An established lawyer practicing his craft in wingtips instead of Chuck Taylors. In 1977, Ciotis proudly received the Charles Law Outstanding Student Athlete Award, a tribute to his athletic and academic excellence. The Suffolk University Athletic Hall of Fame is proud to welcome Christos Ciotis.
Buddy, you're a young man, hard man, shouting in the street. You're gonna take on the world someday. You got blood on your face, a big disgrace, waving your banner all over the place. We will rock you. Sing it, oh. We will rock you. Buddy, you're an old man.
Before a house can be built, there must be a frame. Before a frame can be constructed, there must lie a foundation. Suffolk University athletics was the house, basketball was the frame, and Chris Ciotis was the foundation. 2 years ago, we inducted the 1974-1975 basketball team into our athletic hall. And at that time, we spoke about how that group represented the renaissance of Suffolk sports, how they were truly the first team to bring notoriety to this university through its athletic success. And it was the punishing inside scoring, the dominating rebounding, and overall will and leadership of Chris Ciotis that ultimately led them to such prominence. Prior to his arrival, Suffolk had never been to an NCAA tournament. And it was no coincidence by the time he graduated, Suffolk was in the midst of an unprecedented run in school history where they would qualify for the big dance 4 consecutive years in that decade. Want to know when exactly Suffolk University forever became a regional and national player on the Division III sports scene? In this viewer's eyes, it could be traced back not to a specific season or even a specific game, but rather to a single day back in 1973, the day Chris Ciotis signed his letter of intent to attend Suffolk University. Please welcome our foundation, Chris Ciotis, as Suffolk's newest athletic member of Hall of Fame.
I want to thank Paul for that nice introduction. And before we start going, I also wanted to talk about my first Southern trip at Suffolk University playing basketball. That was from Winthrop, Massachusetts to Suffolk University on Beacon Hill to the Cambridge YMCA. We made it. First and foremost, I want to congratulate all the inductees. They're well-deserved inductees. In particular, I want to congratulate Larry Chabray from the 1984 baseball team. I work with Larry's wife in my law office, and I couldn't figure out today how he spent the whole day playing golf, and Kim was working at the computer. So good job, Larry. And I want to thank, first and foremost, my coaches, Charles Law, James Nelson, Coach Tom Walsh. I want to recognize at this moment the great public relations icon, Lou Conley, who we talk about publicity, was a great man. He used to write about you, and you'd feel like you were Bill Russell, John Havlicek, never mind little Suffolk University ball player. but Lou was an icon. Tony Ferrullo, who now works at Public Relations, has continued that tradition. We've got a great group over there. I want to thank all my teammates, in particular all the unselfish guards who made me look so good by passing me the ball so I could score. You always need no backcourt. One of them was my brother, and the other one was my childhood friend, George Caligeris, and the great Kevin Clark from Cambridge Ridge and Latin. I want to thank my wife, Angela, who's here, my daughters, Nikki and Polixani. They're in the 6th grade. They're twin girls. I coach their CYO team. Now maybe they'll listen to me. I'm just hoping. I want to thank my father who's here tonight, my sister Elaine, my brother Nick. I wish my mother, Polixani Chotos, would be here. She took the Southern trip all the time also. Winthrop, Blue Line, Red Line, YMCA. So God rest her soul, great woman. I wish she was here. And I just want to say I had 4 great years playing basketball at Suffolk University. We had no home gym. We had the Y. It was fantastic. I was fortunate enough to play with some great players. I hope I don't miss anybody, but one was George Caligeris, Kevin Clark, who's here tonight, Jeff Lizell, Eddie Halliday, Jimmy Burns, Mark Muldoon, Steve Barrett, Donovan Little, Hall of Famer, Joe Walsh, who's being inducted as a baseball coach, but Joe was really initially jumping Joe Walsh from Dorchester. Now he's a Harvard University baseball coach. Bob Ferrara, Johnny Howard, Steve Relihan, Stevie Roberts, Mike Jannetty, Steve Felizi, Bobby Mello, Greg Eustace, Donnie Brown. And I also want to thank Charlie Melanson, who's here tonight. He was our team manager. A great guy. Charlie never ages. He's still 25. And, the most proud accomplishment of my career was, what as Paul alluded to, was making the NCAA tournament 3 years in a row at Suffolk. We had never made it before. We were fortunate. We played 80% of our games away, so it was fantastic that we made it. That was the apex of my career. I think I used the right word, Coach Nelson, apex. And I want to thank my great friend, George Caligeris, who's an assistant professor here at Suffolk University, for submitting my application to the committee for consideration. George and I played basketball together at Winthrop High School, at Suffolk University, and then afterwards at different semi-pro tournaments. Again, thank you. Good night.
Starring on the soccer field has always come naturally for Ernst Cleofat. He played the sport with a certain passion, grace, and spirit, always appearing one giant step ahead of everyone else. Born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, Cleofat played club and professional soccer in his homeland and in Brazil between the ages of 16 and 32. Upon moving to America, he attended Boston English High School, where he scored a total of 135 goals and led his team to back-to-back state championships in 1987 and 1988. Cleofat's dominance on the soccer field continued throughout his collegiate career. In his freshman season at Suffolk University, he scored 23 goals, something that's never been done by a player in school history. He averaged a goal a game during his stellar career for the Rams, highlighted by his 3-goal game in a 3-0 defeat over Division I Northeastern University. Cleofat, who was a threat to put the ball in the net at any time of the game, is one of Suffolk's all-time leading scorers. The talented striker and team captain also earned the school's Most Valuable Player and Most Outstanding Player awards, as well as receiving Conference Player of the Year, Conference Rookie of the Year, and many Conference Player of the Week honors. Widely known for his humanitarian efforts, Cleofat is CEO, president, and founder
of the Ernst Cleofat International Soccer Academy, a non-profit organization for underprivileged children. The Suffolk University Athletic Hall of Fame is proud to welcome Ernst Cleofat.
This is the latest fashion. Welcome to the world of fantasy and passion. So delicious, life's a miracle, so don't be superstitious. The beat is getting stronger, let's raise the roof.
Before Game 7 of the 1984 NBA Finals, it was Cedric Maxwell who implored his Celtic teammates to hop on my back, boys, en route to winning the NBA title. Where that was one game, it was a promise and expression that Ernst Cleofat could have uttered and delivered on for an entire Suffolk career. Rare is it that one athlete can be the single difference maker and literally carry a team in collegiate sports. Yet such describes the rarity of this man's talents, as to beat Suffolk soccer, you had to beat Ernst Cleofat first. Game after game, he took on not double or triple teams, but entire teams, determined not to let him beat them. And time after time, he did. The field was his chessboard, the ball was his king, and he was always seemingly one move ahead of his competition, with goal scoring being his ultimate call of checkmate on foes. And in the process, he took a program that played in relative school obscurity and made people start to notice. And by the time he left Suffolk, an entire institution had taken notice. He was our Pele, he was our David Beckham, and this school may never see a soccer player of his skill and caliber ever again. He is Suffolk's newest Hall of Fame member. Please welcome Ernst Cleofat.
I'm trying very hard to hold these tears. First, I'd like to thank Coach Nelson for his long-time friendship. Thank you. I also would like to thank my beloved wife, who couldn't be here with us this evening, for allowing me to be here with you. I also want to thank my wife's parents for being here with us this evening, my son, Jamani, my two older daughters who couldn't be here. I also want to thank my brothers and my sister for being here with us this evening. I also want to thank a very close, longtime friend of mine, attorney Ernst Guerrier, who played alongside with me, who just passed me the ball. That's why I wanted him to do, pass me the ball so I could score. And he did a pretty good job. I want to thank our Dean, Nancy Stoll, President Sargent. I also want to thank the Hall of Fame Committee for this great honor. I thank you very much for that. I remember as a young man growing up in Haiti, I'm saying this because I lost my father about a year and a half ago. And this plaque is in his honor. We worked very hard for 10 of us, who did all that he had to do for his children. And I remember playing, we had a street next to our house where all the guys in the neighborhood, would come out and play soccer all day, from sunup to sundown, until we could smell my father coming, because he had this special type of cologne that he put on. and everybody would just go in the house. This is for you, Dad, and I thank you for raising us the way that you did. You've done an excellent job. I also want to thank my lovely mother, who couldn't be here with us this evening, who broke her foot last December. She sent her thanks, Coach Nelson. And all my players, I want to thank you for being here. As I always tell you, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. I also want to thank all my teammates, especially our goalkeeper, Brian, who stopped all the goals so we could feed Division I Northeastern University. I want to thank everybody for being here, and I thank you again for this special honor. Thank you very much.
Everybody's dancing all night long. Stop the celebration, sing this song. We are dancing in the street. Let the rhythm move your feet.
The year was 1985. The place was Bridgewater State, and we had just lost a basketball game in which Coach Nelson minced no words about his displeasure about our team's effort that night. I play players because they can play basketball, not because I like them, he told us. If I played players because I liked them, I'd play Paul Vaccaro 40 minutes a game. Now, considering I had logged a D&P in that game and averaged like 2 minutes a game back then, I guess you can see what Coach thought of my game at that point in time. Although, let it be known that my athletic accomplishments do parallel that of a number of our Hall of Fame recipients tonight. Like Jack Resnick, I too put up 75 points in a Suffolk uniform, only it was for a career. And like the '84 baseball team, I too played for Joe Walsh as an outfielder, until he cut me about a week into practice. So that explains why you will not see any video montages or vignettes of me up on the big screen. But it does beg the question as to how our Hall of Fame classes such as tonight's are selected. First, former student athletes have to be nominated by you, their peers. At that time, a 12-member selection committee was charged with the task of narrowing down that field to a select few individuals or teams whose athletic contributions to the university stand just above the rest. I would like to introduce that committee now and ask them to stand. They are Ron Sinelli, Ed Dalton, George Doucette, Tony Ferrullo, Chris Gliona, Rebecca Harlow, Ellis Lane, Jim Nelson, Ellen Crotty Pistorino, Larry Smith, Ellen Solomita, and Paul Vaccaro. Of this group, I would also like to reiterate Coach Nelson's previous salute to Ellen Solomita of Suffolk's Alumni Office for her tireless efforts behind the scenes to make this evening possible for us. Ellen, I don't know where you are, but in Coach speak, we want to give you a kudo. So. After tonight, there will be 2 Hall of Fame classes in the books, but with over 60 years of sports tradition here at Suffolk, by no means are we done, as many, many more athletes remain deserving of the title Hall of Famer. But in future years, the committee's job only gets harder, as the obvious choices for some may be less obvious to others. And that is why we need everyone to be part of that nominating process. Right now, I'm sure all of us could name at least 1 or 2 of our favorite athletes and players who we think should be on that list. And there are nomination cards at each table for us to tell you who they are. While there will be much time and many more opportunities ahead to nominate individuals, don't assume that someone else has done the nominating for them. Come next induction vote, these are the people we need to know about, and we need you to champion their cause. With that, we continue on with our program and proudly present our next Distinguished Hall of Fame inductee.
There are many players who have scored goals in the history of Suffolk University men's hockey. Then there is Brian Grunning. The deceptively quick and savvy center had the uncanny ability to put the puck in the net from close range and from far away with remarkable consistency. As a freshman, joining the team after Christmas break, he scored 23 goals and handed out 18 assists for a total of 41 points. Grunning is Suffolk's second all-time career scoring leader with 226 points. With the combination of his scoring and playmaking skills, Grunning helped the Rams reach the ECAC tournament in each of his final 3 seasons. During his junior year, Suffolk advanced to the final round of the ECAC tournament, persevering with a team-oriented, hustling style of play at both ends of the ice. A 2-time ECAC All-Star selection, Grunning once scored all 5 goals in regulation during the Rams' dramatic 6-5 overtime road victory win against Worcester State College. In another Rams overtime win, an 8-7 thriller at home against Tufts University, he scored the tying goal with only a few seconds remaining on the clock. Grunning was the recipient of the ECAC North Player of the Year Award in 1992, the 3rd Suffolk player to be so honored in 4 years. In 1992, Grunning received the Charles Law Outstanding Student Athlete Award. The Suffolk University Athletic Hall of Fame is proud to welcome Brian Grunning.
Passing of the torch. A great one steps aside and another player is tabbed to fill such stardom. More often than not, the drop-off is steep. But then there are those few special occasions where that handoff ultimately involves 2 future Hall of Famers. Babe Ruth to Lou Gehrig, Ted Williams to Carl Yastrzemski, Joe Montana to Steve Young. And in Suffolk lore, we now add Brian Horan to Brian Grunning to that list. Indeed, while Brian Grunning may not have initially gotten top billing at Suffolk, let the record clearly show he was by no means an understudy, and in no way was he a supporting actor. He was the co-star and then the star of a truly dominating era in Suffolk University hockey history. For it was back in that day that Ram teams ran up goals and assists like a pinball machine, and he was one of its main wizards behind the controls. And at nearly any other school, the sheer gaudy scoring numbers that he produced would have easily ranked him tops on their all-time list. Yes, the torch was passed to Brian Grunning, and he responded to that challenge by never letting that fire die out. Instead, it only continued to blaze and burn brightly under his watch. And now we celebrate those accomplishments by introducing him as Suffolk University's newest Hall of Fame member. Please welcome Brian Grunning.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank the committee. This is a great honor for me to be up here, honored. Congratulations to the other inductees. It's really great to be here with you and share this moment with you from people from all different sports, some of which, when I was going through school, I didn't even know were played. So it's an honor to be here with great athletes as well. I have to thank some people in the university that, for us as hockey players, we probably wouldn't have graduated without the help of these people. 2 of them are here tonight, Nancy Fine and Joe Walsh. You guys really deserve a lot of credit for getting a lot of hockey players a little piece of paper at the end of the year. And the third person is Mary Heffron, and we really wish she was able to be here tonight. But health issues have kept her home, but I'd like to let her know that we are definitely thinking of her, and she was very much appreciated while we were in school. it's also great to see so many players and friends that I actually played with. I was actually surprised to see that many players that I played with show up here tonight. It really touches me deeply that they came out and wanted to share in this evening. Paul mentioned that we were a goal-scoring machine in the years we were here, and I can say this because none of the goalies decided to show up tonight. But we had to score those many goals, or we probably would have lost a lot of those games, right, guys? Yeah. But I would be remiss if I didn't name some of the players that showed up tonight. John Piggott, Russ Rosa, Matty Mansfield, George and Russie Onis, Dan Cuddy, Greg Folk, and of course, Brian Scorenhorn. It was, I definitely, it was tough playing in the shadow of Brian Horan, but it was also a thrill. He helped me succeed very much. He took away a lot of the other team's top defenders, so I was able to succeed because I played with Brian. So thanks, buddy. Coach Bill Burns, I'm very glad to see you here tonight. Thank you very much for coaching the way you did. You seem to, especially with Brian and I, you seem to kind of, after just a few short games, you realized that when we stood up, we kind of wanted to get on the ice, and you were quick to pull the other guys off the ice so that we could get out there and do our thing. So I thank you for that. I'd like to thank my mom and dad are here. I'd like to thank them for everything. It's an honor to have them here, and I'm deeply touched that I can share this night with them. My brother Kevin didn't really do much for me, but I told him I'd mention his name. I kid him. He was a goalie too, so he actually helped me. He actually helped me hone my skills. High glove side, pretty much all the time was where I could beat him. My sisters Susan and Cheryl, and also my lovely wife Maria. I'm glad that she's here, able to share this with me. She wasn't around when I was in school. My daughters Chelsea and Cassidy. I hope you guys are proud of your daddy. And who's that little maniac over there? I can't not mention without him. Cameron. Yeah, he's a handful, but he's a hockey player in waiting. So, again, thank you very much for allowing me to speak here tonight. Thank you again for the induction. I'm very honored. And again, thank you very much.
Katie Norton was an individual for all seasons during her outstanding athletic career at Suffolk University. Winter or spring, inside a gym or on a field, she performed at the highest level as a multi-talented two-sport star. Norton is the all-time leading scorer in women's basketball history at Suffolk with 1,516 points. The 5-foot 4-inch left-handed guard was a pure shooter who could scorch the nets from anywhere on the court. She helped Suffolk qualify for the Great Northeast Athletic Conference tournament in each of her 4 years playing for the Rams. She was also named her team's captain and most valuable player her last 3 seasons, and selected a GNAC All-Star throughout all 4 years. Her athletic brilliance was not limited to the hardwood floor. Norton was a top-notch center fielder and pitcher on the Suffolk women's softball team. In the spring of 2000, she made headlines by being the NCAA National Division III batting champion with a stunning .606 batting average. She also finished 3rd in the nation in RBIs, averaging 1.67 per game, and 4th nationally in stolen bases, with 48 thefts in 58 attempts. Katie once pitched a no-hitter, and on another memorable occasion hit 3 home runs in 1 game. Norton was the recipient of the coveted Charles Law Outstanding Student Athlete Award in 2000. Today, she inspires others as a special education teacher in Boston. The Suffolk University Athletic Hall of Fame is proud to welcome Kathleen Norton.
Making it to the pinnacle of one sport is hard enough. It takes years of practice, hard work, and determination. And still then, stardom comes to only those precious few. And then there are arguably the most intriguing individuals within the realm of athletics, they being the very, very special athletes who can compete in 2 different sports simultaneously and at the highest levels. So who's Suffolk's version of Jim Brown or Babe Dietrichson? Look no further than the name of Katie Norton. Now, mind you that what we are talking about is not just about being a good or even very good dual sport athlete, nor is it about being great at one game and good or even very good at another. No, what we're talking about here is being an absolute dominating player in both sports. And when any athlete can leave their university with a national batting crown, no-hitter, and 3 home run game in tow, and as also leave as its all-time leading basketball scorer, ladies and gentlemen, you spell dominating with a capital D and put an exclamation point on it. Yes, dominating describes what Katie Norton was anytime she donned a Suffolk University uniform, whether it was on the basketball court or playing for her father Bob on the softball diamond. And tonight, she adds another adjective to her name and game, that being the words Hall of Famer. Please welcome Suffolk's newest athletic Hall of Famer, Kathleen Katie Norton.
Let me just say this would be a lot easier if you were all 8 or 9 years old. First, I'd love to thank Suffolk, all my teammates, all my coaches. I'd like to thank my family and friends, both of my teammates. They came out. Lastly, I'd like to thank my mom. She's been there for everything. My dad, I wish he could be here today. You know, I loved my time at Suffolk, and thank you.
Joe Walsh has been passionate about America's pastime his entire life. His field of dreams is any ballpark from Boston to Bel Air. When he became head baseball coach at Suffolk University in 1982, the team had not posted a winning season in some time. However, over the next 14 years with Walsh at the helm, the Rams compiled a 218, 167-1 record, including 9 winning campaigns. He also had several of his players named to various college all-star teams and participated in the annual All-Star Game at Fenway Park. In 1995, Walsh led Suffolk to a 26-11 record and the final round of the ECAC tournament. For his efforts, he was named Northeast Regional and New England Division III Coach of the Year. His teams also qualified for the ECAC tournament in the other seasons, his 1984 squad being the first in school history to achieve this accomplishment. Walsh was a tireless recruiter, spending countless hours working the phones and visiting local high schools and junior colleges for players for whom he could develop. His coaching style was firm but fair, but he instilled a sense of pride and confidence in his teams that drove them to excel. He bled Suffolk blue and gold, and it rubbed off on his players. During his undergraduate years, Walsh was a 3-sport athlete, playing baseball, basketball, and cross country at Suffolk. In addition to his role as head coach of the baseball team, he was also head coach of the women's basketball and cross country squads and director of the intramural sports program. The Suffolk University Athletic Hall of Fame is proud to welcome Joe Walsh.
It was the late, great college football coach Eddie Robinson that once declared, coaching is a profession of love. Joe Walsh has that love. He loves what he does, he loves who he does it for, and he loves for whom he does it for. And we were very, very fortunate that for 14 years he did it for Suffolk University. For many of us who had the privilege of being at Suffolk during part of the Joe Walsh era, remember Joe as a man whose enthusiasm and true sense of pride for Suffolk athletics was infectious. Always smiling, always promoting, always encouraging, knowing almost every student athlete that walked down the halls of the old Ridgeway building. He was the kind of coach every athlete wanted to play for, and those who did thrived under his tutelage. And no matter who that team was, men's baseball, women's basketball, cross country, or even intramural clubs, you always got Joe Walsh's best because of the 7 letters that appeared on the front of your jersey, the letters that spelled Suffolk. No one gave more of their heart and soul to this institution, no one cared more for his players, and no one wanted more for this athletic program than he during his time here. And for those efforts, please join me in welcoming Coach Joe Walsh to the Suffolk University Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Those words mean an awful lot to me. First of all, it is so good to be back. Seeing so many faces out here, so many people that I wish I could spend a bit of time with, not just a few minutes, but I treasure tonight, and it's so good to see so many people, and I wish I had time to see so many others that are here. I do want to thank a few people tonight, and a couple have been thanked already before, but they also special meaning to me. The first one is Lou Conley. Lou was the sports information director when I was an athlete here and a student, and I love going into Lou's office and hanging out. He always had a job for me to do, and he really meant a lot to me to get that spirit of Suffolk. I miss him. I know we all do that are here. The other person I'd like to thank tonight is Charlie Melanson, who is our team manager, and Charlie is sitting over there. It was so good to see him tonight. I get chances a lot of times to talk to youth groups at my camps or in towns that I visit. And Charlie, I bring up your story so often. And I'll never forget when I was named the coach here, and your first reaction was, oh boy. You were right, Charlie. But thank you for all those good times that we had, and on behalf of all the players that have played for you, including some of the guys that are here tonight, you've meant so much to me. And the third person I'd like to thank, and there's so many, is Coach Nelson. And when I got the phone call to, having been a former player here, to come back and coach at Suffolk, I had no idea what I was in for, but I was in for some of the greatest years of my life, and what a ride it was, and I really appreciate that. It gave me my start here in sports. Having played 3 sports at Suffolk, I never thought that I'd have a chance to coach all 3 of them, but I was so proud to be a coach here. I also learned so many things from you, Coach, that I didn't think at the time were going to be meaning anything to me. Things like 307 practices that now I'm calling 307 practices myself and getting the same looks that you once got. But that's what it's all about in coaching, is you learn, you pass it on. And I know that I've had a lot of players that have gone into different forms of coaching, and I just hope everybody relishes that, because it is a privilege to be a coach, and it was certainly a privilege to be one here at Suffolk. Just talking a little bit about the teams that I had. First of all, cross country. It was incredible back then in that we didn't have locker room facilities. Really just coming in and seeing guys going out and women going out, running 5-8 miles every day, and then on Saturdays giving up their time and running, representing the school. I was very proud of the fact that I started the women's program here, and in 1 year we had 18 women runners, and boy, it was a lot of fun. And Larry O'Toole, who was a former standout runner here at Harvard, was my assistant coach in a volunteer role for 14 years, and I can't thank Larry enough for all that time that he's put in. The women's basketball team, I had some tough players. Man, I had warriors on those teams, and used to get in there at halftime in the locker rooms, and oftentimes we'd be outsized. undermanned a little bit with numbers, and people, they just laid it out on the line. And I'll tell you, those battles that we had in basketball, they stay with you. They stay with you. And when I'm seeing games today, I think of those times, and it brings back so many good memories with so many incredibly great people. With the baseball team, it really was a big part of my life. I still today find myself in a locker room or on a bus or in the middle of some field, and I'm bringing up some stories on, hey, this is what it was like when we played, or this is what we did, or let me tell you about this guy that we had one time. And boy, I'll tell you, it gets the attention. And to sit here and talk about the teams that were here at Suffolk that I had the privilege of coaching, the one thing I can say is there was a very, very special bond amongst those players from team to team. And I'm so happy to see many of them back here tonight, especially the 1984 team. One of our players, Mike Moyer, he came up with a T-shirt one day that we proudly wore. It was on it, it said, "No field, no cage, no problem." And that was our motto every single year. And we played as many good teams as we could. We often played out of the divisions. We'd get on road trips and we'd find to play extra games there. We had split squads. We played 3 in a day. These guys just loved to play. We were tough, we were cocky, we were arrogant, and we were everybody's number one that they wanted to beat. The 1984 team, which is here tonight, was the first when I seen it, and there was a lot of them when I walked into another team's locker room, and it would be, the signs would be, our goals this year, and it'd be 1, beat Suffolk, 2, win an NCAA championship. Everybody wanted us, and that's the way it was supposed to be, and that's the way it was. I remember those games every single day. I can remember so many pitches, but man, I can remember everybody that played in uniform, and they all meant so much to me. In closing, I just want to say that I gave my heart and soul here for 14 years, but I got a lot more back in return. Thank you. Typical Saturday would be cross country, 8 o'clock, come back, the hoop team would be in the gym, whatever gym it was, Columbus, Boston Union, Cambridge Y, it didn't matter. And we got our own home court thanks to the efforts of Coach Nelson, which was tremendous. We'd have hoop practice, and afterwards, 2 o'clock, we'd go off and we'd find a field and play ball with. And then after that, I'd probably find a few of my ex-teammates, and we'd find a gym and go play, and those were great days. I'll never forget any of them. They were great opportunities for me, and it was a lot of fun. In closing, just want to add one little story is that when I got married, it was on March 1st, and basketball ended on February 27th. It was a leap year, I believe, and after I got married March 1st, and March 2nd started baseball practice. And my wife and I had a great honeymoon, and I can't explain to you the support that I've had at home from my wife, not only in coaching at Suffolk, but in my later years that I'm still coaching now, and also to my family. They grew up around the sports, and I knew to so many of them that baseball was the thing that kept their dad away from them. And tonight I just want to let you know that I really appreciate you allowing me to do that. One is to be your dad, to be your husband, and to have just such a wonderful family. Thank you. Thank you all.
The 1984 Suffolk baseball team made school history by being the first squad to qualify for Eastern College Athletic Conference postseason play with a record of 15-9. The Rams made a name for themselves on the collegiate baseball scene under the leadership of head coach Joe Walsh and assistant coach Frank Niles. The Suffolk Nine produced convincing victories over many worthy opponents throughout the season, including Division II foes Bentley College, Bryant College, and Merrimack College. Backboned by top-notch starting pitchers in John Dalton and John Wood, the Rams won 10 of their last 14 games. Suffolk also produced a powerful offensive display with a torrid team batting average of .338. The leading batter was Larry Chabray, a sophomore catcher and a Boston Globe All-Scholastic. Chabray batted a whopping .470, driving in 34 runs with 6 doubles, 5 triples, and 4 home runs. Other heavy hitters who hit .300 or better included John Lorden, Mike Turilli, Joe Clancy, Mike Villani, and Dan Duffy. This squad's success can be attributed to a close-knit group of hard-working and talented student athletes who sacrificed their individual skills for the good of the team. The Suffolk University Athletic Hall of Fame is proud to welcome the 1984 baseball team.
It was Vince Lombardi that once said, individual commitment to a group effort, that is what makes a team work, a company work, a society work, a civilization work. And it's what made the 1984 Suffolk University Baseball Club work as well. Ask anyone associated with this team, and the first thing they'll tell you is that this was a crazy, fun-loving group of guys whose stories probably would have put the 1970 Bruins to shame. Yet while known for being true characters off the field, let it also be known that this was a team that showed true character on it. They were the original Mutts, coined to them by head coach Joe Walsh in reference to their gritty, scrappy play and blue-collar work ethic. And if you don't think that moniker carries any special meaning, consider that it remains the nickname that every Suffolk baseball team has carried forward with them ever since to this very day. Individual talent, 2 shutdown pitches, and 6 players over .300 batting averages are clear evidence of that. But it was the collection of those talents and the aforementioned work ethic that made this group special. 19 players, mostly from Greater Boston, each with different backgrounds, ultimately coming together as one, as teammates and as friends, to take Suffolk baseball to heights it had never been to before. As the saying goes, there is no I in team, but there is one in winner. And that's what this team was, winners. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you that team, the Mutts, the 1984 baseball team, for induction into the Suffolk Athletic Hall of Fame. Please welcome Fred Bamberger, Kevin Bennett, Bernie Bussey, Larry Chabray, Joe Clancy, John Corviello, John Dalton, Colin Daughtry, Dan Duffy, Mark Foley, John Lorden, Larry Restiano, Jim Ryan, Andy Traynor, Mike Turilli, Tony Urso, Mike Villani, John Wood, Frank Zika, head coach Joe Walsh, assistant coach Frank Niles, and manager Charlie Melanson. Speaking on... Okay. Could we bring Charlie up, please? You get him? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for Charlie Melanson. Speaking on behalf of the team is its head coach. Please welcome back to the podium, Joe Walsh.
I will. Paul, you got a few of those things right about the characters. They were characters, believe me. First of all, I want to set the record straight that my assistant coach here, Frank Niles, was the one who came up and coined the Mutts. And we went on forever to become the Mutts. And Frank was a tremendous assistant coach, and I've often said this before to people, is that I'm just so lucky that I've got a job coaching, and Frank should be up in the Division I realm of things too. Coached at BC, Northeastern, and runs a very successful hitting school down in South Shore that's been very successful, South Shore Baseball Club, which has paved the way for a lot of future college players, and it's great to have him still in the game of baseball. Our 84 team, I thought I'd maybe classify it a little bit, give an example of what kind of play we had with Joe Clancy, who was one of our senior members on the team that year. Clancy came in from California to be here, and we had a game. I don't know if Clancy is going to remember this, but I've told this story 100 times to other teams. And we started off in infield, and being left-handed, I hit one foul down the third baseline, and Clancy stole for it in pregame. Dislocated his shoulder, but didn't say anything. He gets up in the first inning against Stonehill and drops a bunt down one-handed, runs down the line with one arm hanging and one arm going, beats the throw. We score 6 in the first and hang on and win 6-5. Clancy, I tell that story all the time. I loved it. But you mentioned a couple of pitches that we had in John Dalton and John Wood. Two guys right now that I wish I had right now. I'd put them 1-2. But if I told them who was 1-2, they'd probably still be fighting about it. And we had a game against Brandeis, and a team that was very strong at the time, and John Wood had gone 4 2/3 innings and had to come out because of a blister. There was blood all over the ball, and I brought Dalton in the 5th inning, and John starts on him on the mound saying, "You can't go 5 and finish this? I get the W?" And I'm saying, just throw, just throw. So we finished the game 1-0, and I see Woody and Dalton out in the bullpen trying to measure who's throwing harder after the game's over. We had some characters, but yes, this team, it set the bar very high for for Suffolk standards. I try not to do that tonight. They set the bar real high, and Jim Knox had mentioned trying to get games, and it was because of the efforts of this ball club that we started to build our schedule. And we were taking on anybody that we could. We were playing the D2s, we were playing the D1s, we were independent, and we loved it. Mike Marshall, who's here, one time when Oklahoma State and Fordham was playing and Oklahoma was running them out, Mike got up behind the dugout and told Fordham to get out of here, we'll finish this one and beat these guys. We were very confident, we were very good, but most of all, the friendships that were here will stay forever. We had North Shore and South Shore for sure, but it just is going to last forever. And for those of you who have ever played a sport and understand the special bond that you have amongst teammates, these teams that we've had, in particular this team, is bonded forever. Thank you.
Before we forget, all of our Hall of Fame recipients, we're going to ask you after the evening ends to approach the stage for additional pictures, including the baseball team. We started this evening off by talking about tradition, about celebrating the long-standing tradition of Suffolk athletics. Most of us never received a single dollar of athletic scholarship money, and we were realistic in knowing that a pro contract was never coming our way. We went to school in the morning, rode buses and got on the MBTA just to practice in the afternoon, and worked part-time jobs at night. We played the majority, if not all, of our games on the road, and for 4+ decades never had an on-campus facility that we could truly call a home. In all, we represented true student athletes in the purest form of collegiate athletics, where we played for the sheer love of the game and for the sheer love of our school. Yet through it all, in the face of all these challenges, we were able to still gather here and pay tribute to remarkable people, remarkable feats, remarkable victories, and remarkable stories that have truly come to define this institution. Hall of Fame class of 2009, We thank you for reminding us all in this room of the hard work, sacrifice, and pride and perseverance it took to collectively call ourselves Suffolk athletes. How exciting it has been to relive our glory days, how great it has been to take a trip down memory lane. And while we look at that past with such fondness, Suffolk also looks ahead to the student athletes of tomorrow who will continue on with the tradition that we have set. To speak about the future of Suffolk athletics, I am pleased to welcome to the podium Suffolk's new provost. Please welcome Barry Brown.
I want to thank all of you. It's been a wonderful program, and there is no way that somebody who had his best athletic year in high school in 1964 can equal what I have seen and we have all seen tonight. I come to you to talk about a few things. First of all, tradition. You, all of you, as Coach Nelson said tonight, represent the tradition and probably the finest traditions of this university. And part of what I'm doing as provost, it's to travel around the country. And I think you ought to know this, that in places like New York and Chicago and Los Angeles, and where I just came back from, San Francisco, where there were about 100 alumni from Northern California who showed up to an event. They're interested to hear about the growth of the university. They're interested to hear about the fact that the university has gained national prominence. They're interested in the fact that we're in 3 different countries, that we have now over 10,000 students. They're interested in all of that, but what brought them to their feet in San Francisco was hearing about the baseball team and hearing about the tennis team and hearing about Coach Nelson and hearing that Suffolk athletics is not only alive, but well in the current students who live your spirit every single day. So I'm here tonight, and nobody with the name provost can, again, equal what you've seen tonight. With the word provost at the end of their title could equal what you've seen tonight. I'm not trying to do so, but I want to tell you this, that as we grow, we're mindful, so mindful of what each of you have meant to this university. There is more heart, more spirit, more courage in this room than 10 universities, than 20 universities. Our students know it. You're models for all of them. They see your photographs, they read your histories, they know the traditions of Suffolk athletics, and they want to live the lives that you have lived and the successes that you have had. So one of our issues as this university grows to become a true national university, one of our issues is to retain the elements of tradition that you have built, that you have established, that you have lived in all your lives, and to communicate that to the students who come to us today. And they come to us today from every state and from countries all over the world. And that mission is a difficult one, because as we grow, we need to be able to capture what you have done and transmit the values and the ethics that you had to all of our younger students. And we need you in that process. We need you to talk to them. We need to be able to send them to you. We need them to have you discuss with them and let them know what Suffolk was and what it needs to be in the future. We're not just any other university, we're Suffolk University. We have athletes who struggled and succeeded under adverse conditions, who played their best, who won, and who set models for every athlete that's going to come in the future. So when Vice President Stoll said at the beginning that athletics was important, athletics isn't a priority for this university, it's a passion. Every young person deserves the opportunity to participate to the full extent of their abilities and to have the athletic experience. It builds self-confidence, it builds self-worth, it builds value, and it builds a sense of obligation and responsibility. And with people like Jim Nelson, with the other coaches who are so dedicated, we're going to continue that tradition. I remember as a young, you probably don't even remember this, but I was a young professor starting in 1974, wandering around Temple Street. And I had no idea where my classroom was. I was about to teach. I had no idea where it was. And suddenly this tall guy comes up to me and he starts talking to me. And he was kind, and he was patient, and he's remained a friend for 35 years. He has my gratitude and respect. Jim Nelson, I know that you have the same from this entire audience, and we thank you very much. So what are we going to do in the future? What we're going to do in the future is build on your tradition. We're going to try to honor you. And one of my priorities, my colleagues' priorities, is to take Suffolk into the future, to recognize its size, to recognize that times require change, but to maintain the values that you've provided. We are going to build athletic facilities. We're going to develop athletic and team fields. We're going to give our students the places to play, to grow, to develop, to become decent women and men in your tradition. We're going to do it because of what you have done. We're going to do it because you've set the standards. And with your help, the next generations of Suffolk students will know that both you were there and that you helped build their futures. So I got to tell you, I've been to a lot of events over the last 6 months. I've never been to one in which there has been more energy, more spirit, more kindness, and more love, and more feeling for each other than this one. And I'm not saying that to patronize any of you. This has been an extraordinary event. I have the highest respect and regard for all of you. You truly have made this university what it has become. And we're going to try and honor that in the future by building but keeping the same set of values that you helped us develop. So it's an honor for me to be here, and I thank you all very much.
Thank you, Provost Brown. Clearly, the future for our student athletes is bright. Clearly, the future of Suffolk athletics is very promising. And clearly, the combination of such has Suffolk University, our university, poised to create many, many more success stories like the ones we have heard about and live vicariously through this evening. As we close out another memorable night together, I would invite everyone to please stand and join me in applause as we again say congratulations to our inductees, congratulations to Suffolk University, and congratulations to Suffolk Athletics. And thank you all for sharing what is now our tradition. See you in 2011.